lose our power.
Yeah, right.
At least 40, yeah.
Okay, Nobody should tell some kind of a joke right as I'm about to start. If we have a lightning strike and the fact that you're here, does that mean nothing happens?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'd like to call this evening's meeting together. It's our annual council meeting regarding our annual report. That's why it's called that. So I'd like to call that to order. And first of all, a motion to adopt the minutes from June 13th, please. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. It's carried. So I need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Do we have any late items that have to be added?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we have one late item. It is regarding wastewater disposal options for Hunters Hill Development Area. And I would suggest that we put it under 9.1, unfinished business.
Thank you very much. With that amendment, can we have that brought forward, please, to adopt our agenda? Councillor Holmes, thank you. Councillor Peak, all in favor? Okay, it's carried. We'll move ahead. We're now moving into our public and statutory hearings. And I will be having two hearings tonight. And I'll be reading the public hearing statement that'll cover both hearings, so I don't have to reread it, and there's no need to. So this public hearing statement is as follows. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are the subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. I would now ask the Director of Development Services to introduce the first item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First public hearing as an official community plan amendment from low-density residential to park and rezoning the property to PR1, which is our parks zone. This is the property 12-225 through 12-533 Lakeshore Drive, which is adjacent and part of the Kin Park area down in Lower Town. And if we move to this slide, shows the area that's to be designated as park. Part of it is low-density residential and the rest is undesignated. And then part of it is zoned park, the remainder has no zone, so that will be zoned park as well.
Hence, two bylaws.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any correspondence relative to this?
I have received none.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I have received none.
Okay. So now is an opportunity for public input. So I'll read this 3 times. For the first time, would anybody wish to speak to this issue, please? For a second time, anybody like to speak to this issue on the Lakeshore Park resolution? And for a third time, anybody wish to speak? Hearing none, I will terminate the public hearing and we'll move forward to the second topic.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Platt.
Mr. Mayor. The second public hearing is for the property at 2311 Thornbury Street and 2 adjacent
We
lots.
should have asked Councilor Turner.
It's okay.
It's okay?
It is okay. Yeah.
So
Carry on.
in this
Sorry.
particular, the lot that is shown on the screen there now is being rezoned from CR1 to RSD3. There's that lot plus 2 others to the west are being designated from rural residential to low-density residential. And the reason those 3 lots are included is they are all located within the ALR, but they're under 2 acres as of 1972 on a separate title, so the regulations do not apply to them. And all 3 of those lots are being added into the urban growth area as well.
Okay, thank you. Has there been any correspondence to this?
I have not received any, Mr. Mayor.
No, sir.
Neither have I.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move ahead and ask for any comments from the public, please. The first time. Any comments, please, from the public for a second time? Hearing none. And for a third time? No one coming forward. So, and I should have done this before for the previous one, but I'll ask council for a motion to terminate the public hearing, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Carlson, all in favor? Thank you. The public hearing is now ended. So we'll adjourn the public hearing. Motion to adjourn the public hearing, please. We need to. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll move ahead now to our regular meeting. Moving into delegations, I guess it's 5.1. Thank you very much. People from Fortis, please.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, and staff, thank you for giving us some time to tell you about this program of ours, residential assistance and rebate programs. I'm Keith Thierman. I'm the co-manager actually of conservation and energy management, which was better known as PowerSense for about 20 years, but we decided a longer name would be better, so we changed it last year. With me is Shelley Thompson, who's the manager of community and Aboriginal affairs. This is just a diagram of BC showing the Fortis service area, the blue being the gas utility, and the section at the bottom, which is the electric utility that I work for, which serves south central BC. We've got about 1.1 million customers, and as I like to joke, if we're allowed to joke here, we're owned by an offshore company in Newfoundland, so that was my joke for the proceedings here. We have a total of 17 different programs between the natural gas utility and the electric utility, and they basically address the major end uses in people's houses, like space heating, water heating, appliances, and stuff like that. And I'm here to talk about our 2 newer programs, the Energy Conservation Assistance Program, which we're going to label ECAP, and the Rental Apartment Program, which is RAP. We like our acronyms. Why are we doing this? Well, we have a large population of low-income customers in our area, and also quite a significant population of fixed income people that are on pension and stuff like that. And so we're addressing it to that audience, and at the heart of it, we're trying to lower their power bills and also make their home more efficient and comfortable by doing a bunch of measures. And we'll get to that list of measures there. It's a direct install program, so our contractor actually goes to people's houses and installs all these measures, does an energy assessment to see what they need beyond what they're installing. And we'll get to some of that. And and they provide some advice, on the spot advice. So it is for low income or fixed income customers. And on the next slide here, we've got a list of the qualifying income level. So if it's a family of 4, if their income is $59,400 or less, then they would qualify for this. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. There is an income test, I guess, in terms of getting something from Revenue Canada, or if they just have like the social insurance check stub kind of thing, that might be sufficient to qualify them for the for the program. So here's, on the next slide here, is the list of measures, starting with some lamps, both LED and CFL lamps, depending on which is more suitable. A low-flow shower head, which saves water. Some aerators that also saves water, hot water, and stuff like that. Some pipe insulation where it comes out of the hot water tank. Some draft proofing. Hopefully the occupant of the house knows where it's drafty, and they'll, expend a couple tubes of draft proofing. A fridge thermostat that just tells people what the right temperature of the fridge is, so that they're not keeping things too cold, or worse yet, keeping them too warm where it could get moldy. And again, that energy assessment. So the energy assessment is looking for larger opportunities. And one of those opportunities could be replacing the fridge. So this is one of your classic Harvest Gold fridges, and if we spot one of these, we're going to get rid of it. It'll be replaced with a brand new Energy Star fridge, so a very efficient fridge. The old blister on the left is probably using well over 1,000 kilowatt hours a year. If the seals are bad on it, it could be using a lot more than 1,000 kilowatt hours a year. And the new fridges use about 300 kilowatt hours a year. So
I used to have one of those things.
you had a Harvest Gold fridge. You still do?
No, I don't still, but I'm looking at the idea of the spray paint, but anyway, carry on.
So the energy assessment, they look for opportunities to insulate primarily the attic or basement, and probably about 10% of households might get that additional level of service, meaning the insulation, draft proofing, proper bathroom exhaust fan, because there's sometimes issues with poor ventilation. A lot of bathroom fans are not very functional, and if you tighten up the house with draft proofing, you want to make sure the ventilation is good, so the fan goes in. And in some cases, gas furnaces, because this program is for both gas and electric customers in terms of their heating source. So the value of, I guess, if it was a full-on installation, including insulation, fridge, possibly a furnace, could be upwards of $9,000. I don't imagine a lot of people will qualify for that, but even the base service is probably worth $500, and is, installing some useful measures that will allow people to save some energy, possibly $150 a year if the base measures are put in, and upwards of $500 a year if the insulation and a furnace gets put in there. So, and people love new fridges, so that the application can be online, or the 800 number for our call center, which I've never called, so I don't know the number. Sorry about that, but it's in the phone book. And within a couple of weeks, we'll have that person, the applicant, approved, and probably within a month, we'll have the contractor knocking on their door to install this stuff and get it going. So we're hoping to do a fairly quick response, but we started out budgeting for 250 such visits, and by the end of February, we had used up our quota, so we expanded the quota to 1,000, and if that gets used up, I think we're running at about 800, and we're halfway through the budget year. We may increase it again. So in that, there's 1,000, well, we say single family, but that could be a row house, could be a mobile home. It doesn't, anyway, just generally lumped in as single family. And then we do apartments as well. So for the apartments, we're doing a direct install in the apartment with all these devices, low flow shower heads, light bulbs and all that kind of stuff. And we do an energy assessment of the building and give the property owner like some advice on maybe they need to replace their boiler or something like that, or new hot water tanks down in the basement. So someone did some calculations and came up with a quota for Summerland, which I'm sure we'd be happy if you would beat this quota. Sorry, I shouldn't have used the word quota. They came up with an estimate of how many participants would come out of Summerland, and we'd be happy to get a lot more than this many applicants. I think that was just based on kind of where low-income, fixed income are. And anyway, it seems to me like a pretty low number, so feel free to fill your boots and send lots of people our way. And I think this is my last slide, and I've already talked about that, the rental apartment buildings where we're doing the individual units and an assessment and a no-cost energy assessment for the common areas for the benefit of the landlord or the building owner. So that is the end of my presentation, and we're open to questions from council and/or, I guess, the public. This is on the agenda.
Council, questions for the Fortis team?
Go ahead.
Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you'll get the 21 apartments, but I think the 11 single-family homes will be no problem. But I just wonder if you'd be able to, our local food bank has a very good resource center for people who come in looking for all kinds of information such as this, and would you be able to provide the information to them?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have dealt with a lot of the food banks. I don't know if it's this particular one, but we'll put it on our list. And we get the brochures in there and tell the staff there that this is available so they can, attract. And we have dealt with a lot of agencies because we find that sometimes low-income people, you can't just flash ads up on TV. Like you really need to go through a service provider that they trust that can recommend this and even help them fill out the form, make the call. So we realize there's some difficulties sometimes for people to access us. So we'll go there.
Thanks.
That's good. They're really close. They're just across the street.
Oh, are they open now?
I know.
We'll be back.
My question was, there's an income threshold for this. Is there any money that has to be paid by the householder or the apartment owner? Or is this done because they qualify?
Oops, I must have missed the part where it's no cost to the occupant or for the building owner.
Okay.
So it is, truly 100% borne by Fortis BC and its ratepayers.
Excellent. And I'm certainly pleased to hear that you do go out to delivering organizations like resource centers or churches or whoever, because oftentimes people that are challenged in the money they have available aren't hooked up to the internet, and sometimes they don't even have a phone always available to themselves.
Right.
Those things can make a difference to the delivery of this kind of program, but I'm very pleased to hear about it. I appreciate you coming this evening.
All right, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right,
Excellent
thanks for your
program.
time and attention.
I'd be surprised if you don't come up with more than 11 homes, considering we're probably around 30% retired.
Yes.
And actually going through the food bank as a contact would probably be very good.
Well, we'll be
And through
happy.
the senior center as well, actually.
Yeah, actually, I'll make a note of that too.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, there is a question.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I was just wondering what the timeline looked like in terms of the advertising and how they plan to reach out to these people that are low income. Is there a timeline, like in terms of what it looks like when you're going to start to reach out, and is there a deadline attached to it?
We have been doing reach out already this year, like throughout the first 6 months of the year, and I'm pitch hitting for, I said, the co-manager who's actually been out there talking to service organizations and talking to councils and stuff like that. So
And what
they're
does the response look like?
well, as I said, we used up our kind of goal like in 2 months, and we've increased it by fourfold, and that's filling up fast. So we're getting good response, like very good response. So.
And is there a deadline to the?
No, it's, our program's run by year to year, so the deadline is December 31st, but next year we're just about to apply for next year's budget, and we should get it approved before Christmas, and then that means we'll just start it again in January.
I just worry a lot of low income people, they're not always on the net, they don't have the money to pay for those, internet and stuff service to be able to know that it's out there. So I just was wondering what that looked like.
Well, we're doing our best to get out to the agencies that serve that group of people, so.
Thank you very much. Council, we need a motion coming forward to receive the delegation's report. Councillor Barkwell?
I'll move that the Fortis Conservation and Energy Management Group presentation regarding residential assistance and rebate programs be received for information.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, we've reached item 6. This is a public commentary opportunity. We have 15 minutes allocated here for the public to comment on any highlighted item on our agenda. So anybody's welcome at this time to come forward and try and limit your comments to 2 minutes per speaker, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. As a member of the Royalty Committee in Summerland, Karen Hooper has asked me to come and read a letter from her. I'm on the committee as well, but bear with me as I'm reading someone else's words. Okay?
Could you give us your name, please?
Leanne Sieben.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Your Worship and Council members, I am currently a volunteer coordinator for the Summerland Blossom Pageant and Royalty programs and have been for the past 9 years. I sent an email to each of you that I believe is being reviewed in the correspondence section of your meeting tonight. I won't read out the email as you've all received it. However, the email I am referring to is in regards to the providing funding for the Summerland Royalty to participate in the Sister City trip to Toyokoro, Japan. At the June 13th council meeting, when you were discussing possible funding, Councillor Barkwell asked if the royalty had been funded before, and he wondered if a precedent had been set in the past. Since writing my email, I have confirmed through past records and from past royalty coordinators that the royalty have always been funded by the city for this trip. I have traced back to 1995, and at that time, 2 royalty members attended the trip and were funded $1,000 each. And that funding continued until the year that 3 royalty members participated in the trip, and that year the funding had changed to $500 per member and had continued at that rate with either 3 or 4 royalty participating in each trip. Therefore, I do believe that a precedent was set many years ago and that the funding had continued until this year. I also have a copy of the letter that I received from the District of Summerland in June 2013 showing that $2,000 was provided in funding for the 4 royalty that attended the Japan trip that year. This was the last Sister City trip to Japan, and it was brought up at the June 13th, 2016 council meeting that the royalty were not funded on the last trip when in fact they were, and have been every time the trip has occurred. The Summerland royalty are crowned in May. They are not aware of the trip prior to May, so that leaves them a very short window in which to fundraise $12,000, and they work very hard to do so. We are grateful for the $500 funding for the entire royalty team that Council has already approved, and we are also very appreciative of the community's support in helping us raise funds to represent our community in Toyokoro, and my purpose here tonight is not simply to request further funding. After watching the June 13th, 2016 council meeting online, I saw that there were many unanswered questions from council, yet a vote and decision occurred anyway. So in turn, I felt the need to answer some of your questions both in my email and here in person tonight. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
I think this is probably a question for, oh, sorry, not for you.
I'm good?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
good.
thanks. So if indeed the royalty committee, I would assume, anticipate sending people to Japan regardless of who wins, I'm just wondering why this wouldn't have come up prior to May when we were discussing grant and aid and money. Because ideally, whoever won would potentially be going on this trip. So I'm just wondering where that comes from, and if there's something we can do to prevent that from happening again.
And I think probably the best place to discuss that is when it's coming up later in the agenda, because we've got a number of things on that note to talk about.
Okay. Is there anybody else like to make comment on the opportunity, please? Okay. I guess we're hearing none. We'll move forward to my report. It looks long, but it's big print, so don't be worried. The key issue that appears to be headed to resolution is whether Trout Creek School will remain open. The Board of Trustees of School District 67 has unanimously voted to send in the application for funding for the Trout Creek School to remain open. We certainly appreciate the government's offer of funding and Emily Ashton's hard work to assist in bringing the offer to fruition. The Board of Trustees has had a very difficult job, and we certainly appreciate this turn of events. For Summerland families, this is huge. There will be a collective sigh of relief when the issue is formalized. I do appreciate that a considerable amount of work has already been undertaken in reconfiguration by teachers and staff in the face of the impending loss of Trout Creek Elementary. But at the end of the day, this is very good news. As well, the community will now be able to move ahead confidently. The potential for growing families that already reside in Summerland will mean no disruption, and the option for new families to move here and enjoy all that Summerland has to offer will not be constricted by lack of elementary school space. So we're waiting, but we're very confident that there's going to be a positive result for Summerland. Another topic that links to youth is the effort that our CAO has made in applying for a Canada 150 grant to assist in funding the much anticipated skate park. MPA Dan Albus provided a letter of support to accompany our application, and we appreciate his efforts on our behalf. In recent discussions with MP Albus, he felt our chances were very good for a positive result for this application. On a final note, I had the distinct pleasure of attending an award ceremony for Mr. Charles Bernhardt at Angus Lodge last Saturday. He was Lance Corporal Bernhardt, received the French Legion of Honor, France's highest military honor, for his service in the D-Day landing to liberate Europe. He is a member of the Columbia Regiment, Duke of Connaught's own. Mr. Bernhardt, a longtime fruit grower and past president of the BCFJ, has lived in Summerland since 1934, when he came here as a 13-year-old with his family. Council and I and all of Summerland would like to congratulate Mr. Bernhardt on this wonderful recognition. He spoke at the ceremony and did very well. He's 94 years of age at this point, and Summerland should be exceedingly proud that we have a member that was at that landing and faced the onslaught that group of people did. It was just a terrible issue, but it was the beginning of the end of the war. So tremendous opportunity. So thank you very much. That's my report. CAO.
Just one item today. We received late notification of the Community Giving 2016 grant opportunity from Fortis BC. It's their annual award that they give out to 3 communities throughout BC for $15,000 they awarded at UBCM. The application needs to be submitted by this Friday. Unfortunately, we didn't seem to get the original notice that went out. So unless there's any objections from council, I've spoken to the representative from Fortis, and the categories that are under the skate park funding would fit for that. And so I would suggest that would be one that I could fill out with thorough information in the given timeline. So unless there's objection, I'll go ahead and do that.
And I don't see any
Excellent.
negative nodding here.
Excellent.
Good.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, we'll move ahead now to our unfinished business, which is 9.1. We're dealing with Hunter Hill
That's right.
information.
Yes.
So, CEO.
Okay, so council, we gave you a late report on your desk. We didn't get it onto the computers today. It's following up the discussion that we had at the Committee of the Whole meeting today. So various departments are involved in this. So if you have questions, any one of the directors are here to discuss it. The issue, the basic issue is providing general direction to the developers from Hunter Hill on whether council has any objection if they pursue the option of connecting into the municipal sewer system through a lift station and force main, or if they install an on-site sewer treatment system. Of course, neither one of the systems are fully evolved at this point in time, and that won't happen until the final approval, which in either of the cases would be the environmental, the development permit that they would be required to have, that council would approve at the end. So the real question is whether or not council, given the presentation today, has objections to them pursuing the municipal service. And the next step for the developers, if they were, would be to make application for a local service area, for a petition for a local service area for the municipal service. And then it wouldn't come back again until the development permit area. It would, their work would continue. So what the recommendation for staff, just to let you know before your questions, because I know it's a lot to read right now, is that we advise the developers that either of the two options would be acceptable, and that they're still required to be compliant with district bylaws and relevant legislation.
Okay. Do we need further explanation from our planner, Dawn?
If, not unless there's I think if there's questions resulting, then any of us can speak to it, depending.
Okay. Any questions of the CAO or staff before we move ahead? Councillor Holmes?
So the staff recommendation is basically either or would be accessible?
Either or, it would be the developer's choice that we wouldn't tell them they have to have one system or another. It would be that council would have to determine if one of them was not acceptable.
Is this the sort of direction they're looking for?
No, their preference,
Sounds like a cop-out.
the developer's preference would be that we say that they must do a municipal service, or that we're authorized to do a municipal service. But for council, the best route is to leave it in their hands as their choice. Unless there was one option that you knew that you weren't going to allow.
Okay. Councillor Carlson?
When and if a sewer is put in place, a sewer line comes from a development to our existing pipes in the ground, from the time that is put into place until the end of its life, it becomes the responsibility of the municipality, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct, and even after its useful life, it still is owned by the municipality, so if it had to be replaced, it would be on the taxpayer or the ratepayer initiative.
And when we were discussing in the committee of the whole this morning, it had come up that options exist for if you were to do an on-site service. So on-site, the municipality could get involved and participate and perhaps own that, but it also has the ability to not participate in that?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, Councillor Peak?
When there was a previous discussion at committee whole this morning, it was shown that there's an opportunity to do on-site development. There was also the statement by staff that they would prefer not to take over that on-site sewage disposal service, which is something that can happen over time. And I understand where those can be much more complicated. I see it as a simpler opportunity because the developer would have to pay for the for that main to be hooked into our service, and that main being available with a lift station would allow an opportunity for the Bentley service area to develop in a more comprehensive manner, and I think that would be desirable within the community. It means that we're not paying for it via our taxes, and it becomes but it becomes part of our system. And as pointed out through the question, we would maintain maintenance on it as we do with all the rest of our sewage systems.
CAO?
Just wanted to make further note on the question of whether or not we would want to take ownership of a on-site system. And if you recall, a previous discussion we've had, just in general terms, on covenants on private property, it's the same kind of issue that you have. There's oftentimes that a private system is negotiated, and everybody that's at the table at the time are fully aware of what the expectations are of the people that are buying those properties, that they're all going to run it together, that they're all going to be responsible for the upkeep of it. But 10 years later, when the system's failing or there's issues, that's where they look towards the municipality to suggest that maybe the municipality aren't doing their role by providing sewer systems. So it's just it's not that it can't be done, and it can certainly be done with all the legal paperwork, but it is something for council to keep in mind.
Councillor Carlson?
I have another question. It's probably for Director of Works and Utilities. I'm wondering if you can explain, so we're talking about a forced main, and I'm wondering if you can explain what the difference between a regular main and a forced main is. So if I decide in 10 or 15 years down the road that I'm ready to turn this nice farmland into houses, and I know there's a sewer outside, it's a forced main, what's the likelihood of that ever happening, and how can we prevent that from happening? Maybe avoid that last part. What's the likelihood of that happening, and how do you turn one off, turn one on? Can you, can't you?
Okay, so a regular main is a gravity serviced main, so the ability to connect into that is a lot simpler. It's just connecting into an adjacent manhole and extending a gravity main off of that. With a force main system, it's under pressure from the lift station that would be in Hunters Hill development, pumping to our system downstream. So the ability to connect into that pressure system is more difficult, but it isn't impossible. There would need to be some design and coordination with when the Hunters Hill lift station pumps and what the capacity of that force main is. That being said, the design of the Hunters Hill system, my understanding would be for the Bentley area and their development. So that force main would have limited capacity for others to connect to. That being said, they could connect and upgrade from that point downstream to where it does discharge into the gravity system. So it's not impossible, but it is a lot more difficult than a gravity system.
Just further to that note, one of the things that the staff group was talking about when we were looking at what the options is, that I think council needs to keep in consideration as well, is that in the same way that we're talking about on-site services being feasible for Hunters Hill, it also leads to the argument of the agricultural properties being developed because there's a sewer line there. There's more, if there was going to be a large development on an agricultural property, the opportunity for them to do a development, even with on-site sewer, is much more possible now. So the fear of it happening because of a sewer line going past is less, because that's not necessarily so much as in the past what's going to stop the development. It's going to be your bylaws and your will of the councils that are going to stop it, more than it's going to be whether or not there's a sewer line running past it.
Thank you.
Councillor Peak?
Perhaps to Mr. McIntosh, in the discussion this morning, there was statements made that there's less environmental impact in one or the other of these particular possibilities. Could you expand on that?
Sure. Generally speaking, well, this is a very environmentally sensitive area in totality. And generally speaking, the system that has less footprint would be the one that has lesser environmental impact. So the current on-site septic system has 5 separate systems that would service approximately 14 lots each, and it would be a central treatment facility that would collect the effluent, and then it would be dispersed through sand constructed tile fields. So there would be 5 of those scattered around the site. And if you have the sewer option, there simply is the sewer mains in the ground, which there would be anyway to collect it all up. And there would be one lift station, a low point, which is unlikely to be located up on the hill where the environmental sensitivity is most evident. So it would have the sewer system would have a smaller, presumably a smaller footprint, so it would have less environmental impact.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Appreciate it.
Okay, Councillor Holmes, is there anybody over here? Oh, just a moment. Councillor Holmes and Councillor Barkle?
Yeah, just a question of the CAO if possible. Could you just elaborate why you'd recommend us not choosing one particular one? Assuming even if we did choose, say that we preferred one, it would still have to come to us for approval.
Yeah, there's a number of reasons. One of them strictly to do with the developer still being able to have latitude. For example, if their preference is to join in the municipal sewer system, their study's not completed yet. There could potentially be more costs once they finish working with the with Works and Utilities. They may find something on the downstream study that makes it exorbitant and not possible. The initial studies have been done, but not, and that's the same in either direction that they choose. That's one of the reasons that we're saying at this point in time, you're still in preliminary. You still have the choice to be looking at either one, whichever one, and they wouldn't come back to council. The other one is legislative reasoning. Mr. McIntosh, do you want to speak to it, or do you want me to?
I can handle it if you like. There is legislation in the Act as to latecomer shareable, which means if a developer puts in a utility that services property other than the property that they're developing, there is an opportunity for people along the way to connect in and pay for that right. That legislation only applies if council requires a developer to provide what's called an excess or extended service. So if the District of Summerland says to Mr. Murphy, you must connect to our sewer system, that means all that infrastructure now becomes latecomer shareable. There has to be a lot of work done on what the benefiting areas are, who might pay, how much they might pay, what portion of the work goes to which property. And it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and certainly can be done. If the connection to the sewer is a developer-driven option and not a requirement of council, then that whole latecomer section of legislation does not apply.
They pay for the development up front and it's done, and if there's benefit later on, then there's benefit later on.
So, sorry, Councillor Barkle.
This wasn't my original question, but you bring up, my understanding was that it was going to be designed that Bentley Road people could connect to it. Would connection, and if that industrial area was to connect, certainly you would expect that the developers were to get latecomer fees. How would this work under the scenario just described?
Under the scenario just described, the Bentley Road folks would not have to pay to connect to the sewer.
Oh, really?
They would pay the connection fees. They wouldn't have to pay for a portion of the connection of the extension out there.
They wouldn't have to contribute towards that.
But they would still have to pay their regular connection fees.
Yeah, they would not pay a portion of the capital cost.
So I'm looking for some clarity
So from a
on Bentley Road. What are you talking about in terms of properties?
Well, it wouldn't, it's just whatever, if any other property benefited after Hunter's Hill was finished, if they benefited because of that pipe, there would not be any further calculation or further work to do to reimburse the developers of this one. The latecomers don't come back to the municipality, they go to the developer. And there would be no further.
Okay, I guess my question is, there are houses along Bentley. There's the industrial area that's across the road from the designated one that's already in existence. Are all those areas able to hook in then, or is it just the property immediately below Hunter Hill, between Bentley Road and Hunter Hill?
I believe that the entire industrial park, both sides of Bentley Road, could potentially benefit from this works if it goes in, although the design details haven't been finalized.
And including the houses just up the road that are on that rocky
We don't know that yet. It's hard to say, Mr. Mayor, because there will be a point where they have to get from their house down to the lift station.
Yeah.
Once you leave the lift station, you can't connect anybody else in
Yeah.
because it's a force main. So how much piping would be required to get those there? I suspect they wouldn't be serviced. It would be the
Yeah.
industrial park only.
That starts to concern me. I can see the industrial area itself, both sides of the road, but creating extensions would have to be that those houses would be trying to, hook up to a force main under pressure. So unless they were somehow getting in before the pressure, the system was pressurized there, and this is getting into detail we don't want to, but at the same time, I'm not looking at, suddenly including a number of houses in the area that are already there that might consider they could apply to be in.
Yeah, the intent is that the lift station and the force main would have the capacity to serve the industrial park. The infrastructure for them to actually connect would be borne by themselves, not
Right.
by this developer. And if there's other people that could hook in because of their location or the way the grades work, et cetera, and the capacity would allow for it, then they could apply to council, and if they could connect, they would have to pay for themselves to connect.
Okay.
So I just to answer, to summarize the answer that we gave Councillor Holmes, in a typical development, in a typical municipality, this is what a municipality would do. They would say, develop a system that's acceptable, unless there's a reason why you wouldn't want, that you were going to deny the application. So basically, if this developer right now decides that they want to pursue a municipal service, their next step is to come here with a petition to council, which is basically what we're doing right now, is we're saying we're either going to entertain your petition or we're not. So it's not the details on whether or not we should be choosing one right now. That's not really an appropriate, that's not what they're here asking. It's whether or not we're going to deny them moving forward with another one. It is just standard process.
Keeps the options open.
It's only because there was a question on the municipal service on whether or not we would allow it, on why it's even here right now.
Councillor Holmes?
But what's stopping them from pursuing another option and without it even coming to council?
There's nothing stopping them from pursuing the other option without it coming to council until it came for the environmental sensitive development permit. Then it would come to council, and council would then say whether or not it met or not. But so we're just saying there's nothing on the radar screen right now that says that that either one's unacceptable if you pass this motion. But if there was, then you would be. But you've
If we don't pass the motion, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but
No, it is the same thing. You don't have to pass a motion today. If council is not come, if it's only to give the developer some assurance that you're interested in entertaining their proposals, is what the resolution's for. When they come forward next week, or next meeting, or the meeting after with a petition for local service area, that's when council will be forced to make a decision. But it's still not going to. You still won't be talking about the on-site. You won't be saying, yes, we're going to approve your petition, so no, you can't do an on-site. It's just going to say, yes, we'll allow you.
Councillor Carlson?
When we last spoke about Hunter's Hills, it was a conversation that basically ended with a positive and a stipulation that the developer would find a good solution to dealing with wastewater and with sewage and with all of the runoff and anything that comes off of that hillside. And I think that what they've done in the last couple of months in order to address that is very substantial. And if either of these options are going to work better than the other, I've come around to realize that we need to let them move ahead with this, because it's, otherwise it may not happen. And I think that we asked for some good solutions, and we asked for something that was going to work for the community and not affect the people on Bentley Road, not affect the people down the hill. And if they can show and prove that one of these will work or that both of these will work, then I don't have a problem
So would you like to
going
bring
with
that
either.
recommendation forward, Councillor Carlson?
Sure. I could move the following resolution. That Mr. Murphy be advised that the proposed sanitary service options for Hunters Hills development, either connecting to the municipal sanitary system via a lift station and a force main, or installing an on-site sewer treatment system, are acceptable, and further that the chosen option, once fully developed, will require further approval in accordance with district bylaws and relevant legislation.
Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Like to comment as well?
yes, yeah. CAO Tynan sort of expressed what I've been circling around in my head, and I hadn't really been able to articulate, but I think there's a lot of concern in the past about the idea of the sewer main going down Bentley past all the agricultural land and then sort of opening up, and immediately everybody's going to apply for an exclusion from the ALR. But I think really what she said is quite correct. The fact that there is a forced main going down that road is about a 3% factor in whether the land would ever come out of the ALR for further development. I think the community's spoken that they don't want that, and it really isn't going to affect that decision, just for not only the technical reasons, but all the same social values are still there. So from that point of view, I've kind of swung a little bit away from preferring the on-site to saying, with all the benefits of the Bentley Road industrial area inclusion, that this is really a good option. I'd like to see supported.
Well, I think just a moment, Councillor Holmes. I think the way the motion was presented, as the CAO mentioned, the options are there, determining, whatever considerations come forward as they move forward. Councillor Holmes?
I agree with everything Councillor Barkwell said, and given that the developer asked us for some sort of direction, I don't really believe this is any kind of direction, and we're being asked to pass a motion of if both of these things are acceptable, but if I find one more acceptable than the other, so I just don't understand why we just don't give the developer the direction that he's asked us to give.
I think the CAO explained it, and she may wish to do so again.
I do believe this is a satisfactory resolution for the developer, and because it does leave his option open if they do. There is a concern that that if they pursue the connecting to the municipal sewer, that there is an unknown there that could escalate it, and they can't pursue it, and it would delay it again if they had to come back to council and then reverse and go forward. We have discussed this resolution with them, and it is meant, from a staff perspective, this is a supportive one. I think you'll see at next council meeting, they'll bring the petition very soon, they'll bring a petition forward to get the actual resolution to allow them into the service area.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Peak?
Well, I think that as a community and as a council, we've spoken of the fact that we want to see our community grow. This is an opportunity for our community to grow. We've spoken about the school boards and the fact that we want to see more families come and live here. So we do need more homes built. I think the time's come to make this kind of decision, to move the development further along on its line of business. And councils move much more slowly than businesses, so I think it's great that we're at this point.
Thank you. We ready to move ahead then? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving ahead to correspondence 10.1. Would anybody like to bring anything forward from the correspondence? Councillor Peak.
Yes, I have several items I'd like to bring forward. I'd like to bring forward on page 47, the poverty reduction strategy, and page 55, the food bank, and page 61, the letter regarding the royalty, which we also had a supplementary statement from representatives on that committee, and the Sister City work as well. So I don't know what order you'd like to do
Bring
that
them
in.
in as they come.
Okay, so the
As
poverty
listed.
reduction strategy?
Okay, which number is that on?
Yeah, it's on page 47. And I see this as an opportunity for us to forward this to UBCM, if I remember correctly, is how it's done.
Well, that's a labor one. Yeah, that's the labor.
Yeah,
labor
call
one.
for poverty reduction plan for British Columbia. It has a motion there that we could actually put forward. It's quite a long one. I didn't necessarily want to read it all, but it speaks to supporting this to go forward. The council advocates the provincial government to develop and implement a provincial poverty reduction strategy to reduce the number of people living in poverty in BC by setting concrete targets and timelines to reduce poverty.
Go ahead, keep going.
And further resolve, council submit the attached resolution to the UBC municipalities before June 30th, 2016, urging the government of BC to adopt a comprehensive and accountable provincial poverty reduction strategy to reduce the number of people living in poverty in BC by setting concrete targets and timelines to reduce poverty. I would make that motion.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Trainer, thank you. This is a motherhood motion. Does anybody have any objection? Councillor Carlson?
Just wondering if we vote on this and approve it, what's the next step in order to make sure that a whole bunch of different municipalities don't send the same motion to UBCM, or do we?
No, that's what they want.
That's
They want
exactly what
everyone
they
to do
want.
it.
It's reinforcement.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
No, it's just, it's in line with our call to look for motions to take to UBCM. This is one that we could support, I believe. Councillor Barco?
I mean, nobody could say that they're against poverty reduction, but this, seems so vague to say we need a target. I mean, how are you going to get that target? Through better, higher employment or new programs or?
It's probably done that way on purpose.
Yeah, so that it doesn't reach any objections.
Well, it's to be discussed at UBCM.
Yeah.
So there'll be discussions there, and it raises the topic, and if there's lots of communities that have supported it, then it's more than likely to initiate whatever poverty reduction programs might potentially be possible, whether it's through funding of various options or programs or whatever. So it leaves the field wide open to entertain
Just
anything that might help with poverty reduction.
Issue awareness kind of a strategy.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Councillor Holmes.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with this in principle. I just think that anything we take to UBCM or anywhere should come from the community as opposed to come from outside the community. I like to support community initiatives. I would like to have known, get our own community's take on this, what the food bank thinks, that sort of thing.
Councillor Peake.
It's not inconceivable that you could still bring a motion forward that comes from the community and yet support this in advance of it.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead,
Just
Sue.
in regards to Councillor Holmes' comment, I think, this one's a fairly generic one. I think overall, it is good practice not to, without doing background research on, we know it's the Labour Federation, but typically there'd be more, the timelines would be such that that's why we would do a staff report, even on something like this, because sometimes the ramifications are not necessarily known at the beginning. So this is unfortunate the timing was such.
Okay. Well, we have a moved and seconded motion. I still think we justify moving ahead, and it's not to say that we can't introduce other motions that along the same line that may come directly from the community. This is something that Councillor Holmes, we've been asking council to come up with ideas to move to the UBCM. We could certainly come up with a motion that would and be more directly related to Summerland, but be supportive because of its nature to this particular motion. So, all in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Unopposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now you have another one, Councillor Peake.
I do, if I go by order of page, it would be page 55, and I just wanted to highlight the letter sent to us by the Summerland Food Bank and Resources Center. They're launching an odd job program to supplement the income of its clients, and people within the community who have odd jobs can go online and look at it, or can go to the resource center and look for someone who might be available to mow your lawn or help you out with chores, and you pay them direct. It's the Food Bank and Resource Center is not an intermediate, but it gives an opportunity for people to supplement their smaller incomes and to keep their dignity and to be able to do more within their units. So I just wanted to highlight that. I think it's a wonderful program, and it's being used by some businesses and community members already within Summerland, but I just wanted it to be more aware by bringing it to council table.
Thank you. And the next one, Councillor Holmes?
Could I just comment on that?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to just recognize our Food Bank and Resource Center just for how proactive and progressive they are with programs like this. When we, I think when a group of us went over there on Saturday with our MP Dan Elvis, he was, and John, Bob talked about this program specifically to him and other programs they're doing. I think our MP was really impressed. He was really impressed with the food bank, and I think he's visited quite a few food banks he mentioned, and he was quite impressed with how the Summerland Food Bank and Resource Center was, what all that they were doing.
Well, I think you indicated it was, pretty progressive approach to the difficulties that people have, so it was great. Okay, another one,
Exactly.
Councillor Peak.
And then the last would be page 61 regarding the royalty, and it was the first email that was sent to us on that. And I did speak to it this morning at the Committee of the Whole and asked if staff could look into it to find out how it had been treated in the past, because prior to a time I was on council, obviously it was looked after, and probably through the budget process rather than grant and aid when it came forward on the first discussion. I hadn't realized that. And we now have a committee, which is not something that was had at former councils, is my understanding. So I wonder if staff have more information that we might be able to look at that.
Yes, we do, and we'll start out with Lori Coates. We'll just give the background.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to start off by saying that at the last meeting where this request was discussed, the electronic records that had been reviewed did not indicate that the support given in 2013 was for Miss Summerland and the Princesses and Miss Congeniality to go on the trip to Japan. So it appeared as though it was support for the pageant itself. We've now gone back to the source documents and can confirm what you heard tonight, that indeed there was support of $2,000 in 2013 for 4 representatives from the royalty pageant or committee to go on the Sister City trip. Prior to that, in 2010, $1,500. I can also confirm that support for 3 people to attend. So Councillor Peak has mentioned that we did have a bit of a change in process. So prior to 2014, the Sister City did operate through a grant and aid process and received $3,000 a year grant and aid, as well as additional support going to the Royalty Committee for those representatives to attend the trip. So in 2014, there was a change for the Sister City Committee to function under the committee structure of council, and in that year, no funds were spent. In 2015, $1,000 was spent as an advance payment on the upcoming trip in 2016. And in the 2016 budget, council has approved a total of $10,500 for this year being a trip year. So to date of that budget, $4,570 has been spent. So of the $10,500, there does remain $5,930 in the budget for the Sister City trip. I can also say that in grant and aid, which is where the $500 was approved for this trip, which as we discussed at that meeting, doesn't really fit the policy for grant and aid. However, there does remain $3,468 and unallocated in that budget. There is a request tonight for $500 from a team, a softball team, that does meet the criteria for a travel grant. So if council were to approve that request, there's just under just over $2,900 remaining in that budget as well.
CAO?
So I was just a couple additional notes on there. Council may or may not decide to fund it this year, but there may be some thoughts for future years, even if you do decide to fund it for this year. We did talk a lot in the staff group about the process that council goes through typically when you fund these kind of things, and it's this isn't an open. This isn't an opportunity that's open for every community member, or not even every gender of a community member, and that when we're thinking sister city in the future, this might be the time to start thinking about, if you are going to provide spaces for people to be going and being funded ongoing, you may want to perhaps include one of the royalties, but may make an ambassador program or something where it's open for any individual, and it's not exclusive like that, and that you do, when you're thinking about budget-wise, you do just because there was a precedent shouldn't necessarily mean that you need to think about it in the same manner that you've thought about any other budget considerations that you've made this year. And then just to answer Councillor Carlson's question statement earlier, I guess if it wasn't part of the grant and aid program in the past, that would answer why they didn't come to the grant and aid process, because they haven't had to in the past.
Councillor Holmes first, then Councillor Carlson.
I suggest we refer this to the Sister City Committee. I think it's a Sister City budget item. I don't think it's a grant and aid budget item. I don't even know if it's a council decision matter. It's I think anybody, or maybe it is for council to decide ultimately, but I think we have a Sister City Committee, so you think we should get their advice on who they think the municipality ought to be funding to go on the trips. I would like to hear what the committee has to say.
Councillor Carlson?
There was a comment about there's 4,000 spent and 5,000 left in the budget. I'm just wondering, there's two members of council going to Japan. Does that remaining money have to cover their trip, or is it?
Yes.
Okay. So it hasn't gone forward. That doesn't include part of the ticket or cost or anything yet. So
to date, the district has given to the Sister City Committee $5,570 towards the two members of council attending the trip this year.
Does that pay theirs in full, or is that half?
I don't have that information with me tonight. I don't think it's full. I think it is.
I don't think it's half.
Yeah.
It's, no, that would be the full amount, the $2,600 per person, approximately. And so that's what's being paid over. I think all the checks have been written now. And so
it is complete
the
then?
balance of in that budget item for the Sister City Committee, I don't know what it's earmarked for, but it's not for the tickets for Councillor Peak and I have been paid for. They were, pretty sure it was $2,600, $2,595.
Richard may have more comment on this because he's doing it as well for a member of his family and paying it separately.
Yeah.
So he's more aware of the amounts, whereas what's happening I'm not as aware of. And the sister city they haven't had that discussion because our committee has normally been looked after through the financing at the municipal level.
So is the balance of that $5,000 automatically going to go over to the Sister City Committee, or is it something they have an expense and then they apply to the,
Like any other budget item, we need supporting documents
Mhm.
before we would expend the funds, but it wouldn't come back in front of council to make a decision about it. It is an approved budget item for expenses related to the trip.
Okay, Councillor Peak?
Well, then I suggest that we put it back to the city, sister city discussion. If they have money in their budget that would allow them to support what they need to do, although they haven't done the mechanism before because they didn't have a committee to work through. But it sounds like there is an opportunity to do that now with the funds that are there.
Councillor Barton?
So you're suggesting that if they say, okay, of the money, funds remaining approximately $5,000, you said in the budget for that item, that they could say, we want to spend $2,000 or another $1,500 on towards the airfare for the royalty members, and they would submit you an invoice for that or something, and that would be just, that's how it would work?
That's how it would work, yes.
And then it's transparency and it's seen.
So there doesn't seem to be any difficulty in terms of them pursuing.
So we'll make a referral back to the committee then?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best route.
Thank you, I appreciate the discussion.
Any comments, Sienna?
No, I think it's a good indication that we just, I think the Sister City Committee, we should get terms of reference, make sure that that's included in terms of, again, for the future. It's a perfectly fine solution for now, but I think it just warrants further discussion when we're looking at budgeting and what amounts we're putting in there to make sure that we're aware of what it is that
What
we
the
might be
items
wanting.
are.
Yeah.
Councillor
Thank you.
Trainer?
So the $500 that we already gave, that came from grant and aid? Is
Yes,
that
it
right?
did, yes.
So should that continue to come from there, or should that now then come from this 5,000 or 5,900 that's left?
Well, in my opinion, it better fits the 5,900
Yeah.
category than it does the grant and aid category. Yes.
So then that would open up 500 for something else then? If we,
Yeah, there's still a balance in the, it just goes back to the balance, because as we know, each meeting, there's another request coming.
just go back to the grant and
It'll
aid
just go
budget.
back to the grant and aid
Okay.
budget, because
Okay.
we have one tonight, we'll have others in the coming.
so then the Sister City Committee would essentially be looking at spending $2,000, and that would be up for them to
That's
decide?
up for them for
That's
discussion.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there anything to be done here right now?
No, you could just refer the matter to, you could pass a motion, I'm sorry, to refer the question regarding royalty attendance on the trip to the Sister City Committee.
Okay. Someone like
I
to
will support
move
that. I will propose that motion.
Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Barkwell, thank you. All in favor? Okay, motion carries, none opposed. Let's move forward. There was nothing more, Councillor Peak?
No, those were the three items I had. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Holmes?
I'd like to pull another item.
Yep, go ahead.
The letters from the Minister Shirley Bond, talking about the next influx of Syrian refugees in the fall. And it's nice to see in her letter recognizing that they basically can't all be in the Lower Mainland, and they'll have to come throughout BC, and that they'll be looking at communities to express what's needed to support refugees, and it's certainly something that needs to be articulated, because the Interior does have some challenges that we need to both support refugees and immigrants in general. I just also like to comment on the stats that they give. It doesn't really truly reflect how refugees are spread out across the province. As it says, it doesn't reflect secondary movement and subcontracts, which is what most of the refugees who have come to the Interior are. So that the stats are very slanted towards the Lower Mainland. So it says Summerland has 5 refugees here, but the actual number is more than double that. It's just that the first place they landed and were processed was Vancouver, so they go into Vancouver's
Oh,
number.
I see.
So
Okay.
that's why it only shows 5. for Summerland.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
That's it? Okay, thank you. Any other correspondence to be brought up? Okay, we can move ahead now. Actually, we need a motion to receive the correspondence, please. Councillor Barkle?
Move that the informational items included in the report dated for June 27th, 2016 regular council meeting from the manager legislative services be received for information.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to 11 point, actually, we're moving on to 12,
Yeah.
but that's development
Planning.
services.
No,
Or
12 staff reports.
Staff
We start
reports,
with
sorry.
structural firefighting service.
12.1.
12.
Go ahead.
So, we're gonna have, Fire Chief Glenn Noble, he'll introduce this subject, and, as you know, there's been a number of changes in the firefighting, services, and we are still working through many of them, but this is one of the first steps to, bring to council's attention.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor. So as the CEO alluded to, as of June 30th, the district needs to designate a level of service that the fire department in Summerland provides. And this PowerPoint, briefly, would you have it, quickly go through the PowerPoint and go over some of the ramifications of what is called the playbook. We'll talk about the options that are available to council, the current training status of our fire department, some minor associated costs to assist us in getting where we need to be, and finally the recommendation to council. So in the background of the playbook, and I believe you had a copy in your package, if you can really understand the contents of the playbook, please let me know, because it's very complicated and has created quite a bit of angst in the fire service in BC. So, but what happened in 2014, the Office of the Fire Commissioner determined that firefighter training standards within BC differed greatly from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Obviously, small communities can't provide the same level of service as large ones. The playbook was established in order to create 3 defined levels of service. We'll talk about those in a second. By June 30th, like I said, in 3 days, local authorities must declare that level of service that the municipality will provide. And the authority having jurisdiction, local authority, must also determine the standard of training for its firefighters that matches that level of service. So there's 3 levels of service. There's exterior operations, interior operations, and full service operations. And we'll expand on those a little bit. So there's exterior operations. So firefighters shall not enter buildings, vehicles, dumpsters, or other objects if an immediate dangerous to life and health atmosphere is present. Firefighters essentially can only fight the fire from outside. This is an example of an exterior type fire. This was a bin fire at BC Food Packers in November 2011. So while it wasn't a structure, it was still an exterior type fire. This would be an interior type operation. This was a duplex fire in October 2011. You can see the picture on the left is the inside of the house. Picture on the right, obviously the outside of that same house. So that was an interior attack done by our people. Very well done. It does look bad inside, but from the outside it doesn't look so bad. So it was a good job. That was an interior operation. The issue with interior operations is they are for small single-family dwellings, duplexes, other small structures. The difficulty we face are buildings that we have like this, our 3-story walk-ups, our 4-story walk-ups, industrial complexes are more complex buildings. You're not going to do much by spraying water from the outside. So it leaves us in the situation where we believe full service is the best option for us in Summerland. There are training requirements for that. And why these types of buildings get complex is what you see there. You have standpipe riser connections that we have to hook our hose lines to inside the building, long hallways, multiple units. It's difficult. It's not a single-family residence. So there are training standards that we currently follow. The NFPA 10,001 Firefighter 2, all our firefighters are enrolled in that program. All our firefighters, other than probationary firefighters, have Live Fire 2 certification. 17 of our firefighters, I believe, have, so there we go. 17 are trained as team leaders in accordance with NFP 1021, which is the fire officer program. We do train in accordance, all our structural firefighting is in accordance with firefighter 1 and 2 of the NFP 1001. So while not all our firefighters are certified to 1001 at this time, we do use those training standards, and we do have operational guidelines in place that state that we do use those standards for training. We anticipate all our firefighters, other than the probationaries, will be certified within a year to that firefighter level 2 standard. So the declaration of full service is consistent with service levels in comparable communities and is supported throughout operational guidelines and training programs we already have established. Communities like Lake Country, Salmon Arm, Revelstoke are all declaring full service. The difficulty with communities of our size, we're not the big boys, but we're still bigger than the little guys, is we're kind of in the middle. So I think we're forced into the full service. I'm confident our people are capable of doing that. Everything we throw at them, they take it in and they do the job and they do the training. So they have to be commended on that. You know, there is a bit of a caveat though that, you know, we're hoping that council will make the decision to declare full service, but there are times that we may not be able to provide that service, depending on who we have on scene, the level of training they have, and that's up to the officer in charge at that time to make that call. Financial impacts, there are no financial impacts to this year's training budget. We will be needing to do some fire officer training in 2017. Those are very, very rough approximate numbers. We don't really know what that'll look like yet. There is a program coming out for fire officer training that has not yet been released. So we don't anticipate it being a huge amount of money, but it will have to be brought forward for council consideration. And that pretty much wraps it up. There's the recommendation. I don't know if you want me to read that or I guess I'll probably have to.
I think we're good.
And if you have any questions.
So, yeah, I have a question in that, you know, you've got, what, 4 full-time?
We will as of July 11th.
Right. So everybody else is volunteer. So you're bringing everybody's certification up to level 2. Presumably, most of the volunteers will be trying to reach that.
They will all.
Yeah. So what's your turnover percentage right now in terms of movement?
We're one shy, one light.
Okay.
So we're at full complement.
That's very good.
Which is good, of auxiliaries.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. You know, we'll go 2 years without anybody leaving, and then
Yeah.
we'll get 4 leaving.
I guess
3
where
months.
I'm coming from, is it difficult, you know, is it difficult to keep that level 2 consistent?
It will be difficult.
Pardon me?
It will be difficult.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's doable.
Yep.
We will be identifying our firefighters, and like we do now. We're not changing anything in how we identify their level of training.
Yeah.
We do it by colors of helmets. So we may just have a few more yellow helmets at some time than we have black helmets.
I see.
Our black helmet firefighters are the guys that are trained for interior attack firefighting.
Okay. Great, thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Is the new fire training building in use now, and does it help train you for the interior multi-story buildings like long hallways and such that you showed us?
So, we have been using it. The grounds aren't quite finished. We're just waiting to have them paved. So it's all the props are in for gas props for car fires and things like that. But yes, the building is designed with a standpipe riser system. We will be able to put partition walls in there to create an apartment type atmosphere. It is multi-story, so it will provide us that level of training and give us somewhere we can practice things in our real apartment building. Because they don't like us dragging hoses through.
Oh, really?
So, the other side of that is, and for our live fire training, where we actually go in and fight live fires, we still use the Vernon training facility for that. The city of Vernon manages that facility, and that's where we receive our certification.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you burned down a building in Summerland.
Councillor Peak.
Yes, thank you. Glenn, when we look at the training, do we bring people in to do the training? How is this funded? Like, is it funded because we bring people in? Is that why we get extra money, or how is it done?
Well, our training budget is, every year we have our training budget. That pays for our firefighter certification at the Vernon Complex. We hosted a pumps and pumping course this weekend. Again, that funds that type of course. So a lot of the training we can do in-house. We're certified as Justice Institute, British Columbia evaluators, so we can train and evaluate our firefighters. But there are also third-party evaluations that we do have to pay for.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Holmes.
Having a full service operation level, does that provide benefits to homeowners in terms of insurance? Do you know what?
It's not tied.
It's not tied at all?
Rates
Okay.
at all.
No.
Thank you.
Can I?
Go ahead,
just
sorry.
add something? When I say full service, we're only talking about structural firefighting here. We're not talking about MVAs or motor vehicle accidents or other hazardous material incidents, wildfires, those types of calls. This playbook only is specific to structural firefighting.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councillor Trainer, we're going to move forward in a minute. Quickly, go ahead, please.
I have a question. You showed 2 apartment buildings.
Correct.
Right now, do you guys just have the ability to tackle them from the outside, or can you go in them as well?
No, we fight with fire from inside.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fire Chief. Appreciate it. Councillor Carlson's got a question.
Nope, I was
No?
just gonna move the resolution
Okay,
as
can
presented.
move it as presented. Thank you. Seconded, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any more discussion? Good, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries, none opposed. Thank you very much,
Thanks, Glenn.
Mr. Noble. Okay, moving on to 12.2, the dog show at Dale Meadows. CAO?
Council will recall that in January 2016, you approved a dog show overnight camping in Living Memorial Park. Since then, Dale Meadows Park has come available. It was not available at the time, which is why it was not brought forward for consideration at the time. Staff recommendation is that council allow it at Dale Meadows Park. Recreation manager's not here today. Were you going to speak to it, Jeremy, or?
There's not too much else to say,
Okay.
except that Public Works was consulted and they're highly supportive of this new location.
So, can I ask a question there, Jeremy? Was it a preferable location over Living Memorial?
This is actually a preferable location.
In terms
From a
of
staff,
size,
yes.
for all reasons?
Yes.
So is there a reason now, I mean, the baseball or softball was canceled for that date? Is this something now, we're looking at this as an annual situation for the Scott Clinic Kennel Club? Should they be looking?
I've decided if it's going to be long-term, I think this is the first year to try it out.
Got it. Sorry. Maybe we can,
I am not even under the Scott Kennel Club, so I can answer any questions that you have about that. Yes, we are hoping that it will be an annual event.
yeah. I was aware that it's, you know, a big event, and that I wasn't sure on the scope whether this size of that field would be better and maybe better for staff and so on, but I guess apparently it is, so anyway.
We'll have to about that.
Yeah, at any rate, we've got the existing resolution in front of us. Thank you very much. So would someone like to bring the recommendation, Councillor Peak?
That the Skaha Kennel Club application to use the entire Dale Meadows Park for a dog show and overnight camping of participants on September 9, 10, and 11, 2016 be approved.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. All in favor? Whoops, is there any further
Sorry, I just-
discussion? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, before we jump in there, if, I know there was a comment recently from somebody about how the rodeo grounds were rented out and they weren't able to go in and utilize any of the space. I'm just wondering, in a situation like this, if we rent out, or the space is being used by the kennel club, it doesn't stop anybody from coming in to play on the field that isn't being used or to participate in any of the public space?
If the public space was available, I mean, it wouldn't be cordoned off, but it does. I mean, in anything like this, there may be feedback that suggests that you're tying up spaces on, overnight basis. It's one of the things that's impossible to please all parties. Our policies do allow for it upon council consideration, which is what the discussion was at last time.
The only thing I can think of is the walking path that surrounds the area. And people are there on a sort of a regular basis. It's their morning duty.
They would use the walking path,
Yeah.
and it's just the two soccer fields, and
Right.
the public is welcome to come to our show. They're welcome to use the other ball
Yeah.
fields that we won't be using. We'll be telling our dog people to stay off those ones. They can use the washrooms. There's no problem with that.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much. Anything
Okay,
further,
thanks.
council? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries, none opposed. Okay, we're moving ahead to 12.3, Grant and Aid Summerland Minor Fastball Association.
We'll move that to Ms. Coates.
CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of our Summerland soft fastball teams was successful in their competition this year and is heading to the provincials in Cranbrook, June 30th to July 3rd, and is requesting that council provide a $500 travel grant to them from the grant and aid budget. Should council go ahead and allocate those funds to them, based on the switching of the sister city trip money, there would still be $3,486,000 remaining in this budget.
Sounds good. Any questions of the CFO? Would someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Carlson, thank you.
I move the motion as presented.
Thank you, seconder. Councillor Trainer, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Councillor Carlson.
Can we throw in some pins? We like doing this, at least for one team? Is that
Of course,
possible?
of course.
Can we do that?
Summerland
If they want them,
pins.
they
If they
absolutely
want
can
them?
have them, yep.
All right,
yep.
thanks.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. None opposed. Okay, we're into 12.4. CAO.
So this is the annual municipal report. I spoke to it at last meeting, at the time that a draft was complete and it was advertised and on display or available in the office for any consideration. There is a copy of it attached here. We have had, to my knowledge, we've had no response or inquiries to date on it. And it, as we mentioned last time, it's a good summary of the previous year's operations of the organization of strategic plan and progress report, departmental activities, our financial statements and statistics. So at this point in time, all that's left is for council to receive the report.
Okay. Any questions? None? Motion to receive, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Councillor Holmes, seconder. So, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Moving ahead.
Well done.
Thank you. Any further comments, CAO, on that? That's it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to 12.5 and shared services, Penticton and the school district and RDUS, CAO.
I've attached a background or an information page that was presented to me and to staff at Regional District and the school board by the staff of Penticton in regards to a pilot project they'd like to undertake for regional shared services to investigate the possibility for more regional shared services, especially between the municipalities and the school board. It's outlined on the first page there. The province has suggested that if all of us participate, they will contribute $50,000 towards the project, which would be bringing in a third party external consultant to look at where the opportunities for shared services may be. Shared services is a concept that has been around for quite some time between school boards and municipalities because there's so many things that we do that is very similar, and likely there's opportunities to collaborate on a number of things in other municipalities, certain other municipalities that I've been involved in, and other ones that I know of. Initiatives have been attempted, but they get thwarted either in our busy lives of just day-to-day work or staffing issues, etc. So the program is looking for a contribution from the district as well. They originally had thought $12,500 from each community. In my conversations with Eric, who is the CAO in Penticton, I did suggest that we don't usually do any shared contributions with the city of Penticton that are of even contributions, because it's not fair to the taxpayers if we're paying $12,500 towards something and Penticton is, the impact on the taxpayer is higher for us. And he did agree that if we were to contribute a prorated amount, that Penticton would pay the balance. The question at this time for council, as you well know, we've been having discussions. It's unfortunate that the whole school situation isn't fully sorted out, although it's getting close. And we're currently having some conversations with the ministry to determine what they really mean when they're talking about looking at all sorts of different opportunities, especially with the recent appointment with Ms. Larson and the exploring opportunities. And I know that council wanted to have the opportunity to talk to the minister to understand that better. So one of your opportunities, if you weren't ready to commit to the pilot, I think from the informal conversations that I've had, I understand that it's generally seems that we're highly interested. Shared services with the school board would be a very positive thing. But the memorandum of understanding suggests that it would be signed before the end of July. If council does feel that you want to wait until we have our meeting with the minister and discuss if and know what the outcome with the recent school closures are, we could defer this to the next council meeting and still sign it in a timely manner, should you decide to at that time.
Okay, so council, what's your wish? Councillor Holmes.
It makes sense to me to see how, the process that we started and the meetings that are scheduled, to see how they play out and table it to the next meeting.
I agree.
In principle, I it's something we've discussed with the school board ourselves, and it's something I'm certainly supportive of the whole concept, but I'd like to see it tabled till next meeting.
Yeah, I think we need sort of the full batch of information, including the response that we're anticipating that the school board may get from your application, as well as any other information we can get from meetings we may have. Councillor Peak.
Yes, this council has certainly made its wishes known to look at shared services as an option in going forward and having those discussions with other communities and with the school board. But I agree that we could have these other discussions prior to the end of July and still come back to make this decision.
Councillor Carlson?
Similarly, I think that the District of Summerland, in our conversation that we had with the school board, made it very clear that we'd like to participate in these conversations and be included in these conversations. And so I think that this conversation is definitely something we should be involved in, and it is ongoing. And once we know exactly what this will mean and have a little bit more information from the meetings that we're going forward, and perhaps talk to the school board a little bit about what kind of there's a few things I would like to know a little bit more about, I guess, before going forward on this. But I do think that this is exactly the direction that we were implying when we spoke with them back in March, I believe. So I'd like us to be involved, but I do think it is premature today, at least, to sign it.
I should note that I have a meeting on Wednesday, I believe, with the three local governments and the school district, which I'll still attend. It is talking about this further and just getting an update. And I'll if the council passes this resolution, that's what I would let them know, is that it would be that we'd be looking at it in the next meeting.
Councillor Trainer?
I'm just wondering, if we do sign on to this, when would the 9,000, when would we have to pay that, and where would it come from?
Likely we would pay it relatively quickly after. We haven't talked about the details like that. We would likely pay it from the budget line item for contractors that we set aside during the budget discussions last year.
Okay.
Councillor Barkle?
I'm a little bit puzzled of why we need to defer this decision on this. It seems to me that there's practically no chance that we wouldn't want to participate in this project. Can you sort of respond to that question, fellow councillors or somebody?
CEO?
I think that what the feedback I got from council is that we have a meeting for July 11th with Minister Fassbender, and that it would be premature to agree to this before we have that meeting.
Okay.
So, somebody like to bring the motion forward, please? A motion? Councillor Holmes?
Move the council table the decision regarding participation in the regional shared services pilot to the next regular council meeting.
And seconder, please. Councillor Carlson, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. The motion carries. None opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving to 12.6. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Council. This reports to the Council on the Jones Flat Granite Valley Water Separation Project. The first page of it is just an update on what's happened over the last few weeks and what's projected to happen over the upcoming weeks. With the road cross-section finalized, we're working towards finishing off the water design, which means updating the water model analysis and reviewing that. Looking at the booster pump station that's going to be on Garnet Valley Road and finalizing that design. Meeting with Shell utility companies. Then moving forward with some of the permit applications with regards to environmental, forest, interior health. And then with regards to the tender documents, getting a construction schedule in place and looking to develop a traffic management and emergency access plan for that project. Another component of this report is to bring forward to council a communication strategy that we've proposed. Attached in Schedule A is a draft copy of that. Looking to get council's approval for that to move forward with a number of those items, mainly during construction, just to keep staff, council, the public up to date on where things are at. So we can just, I guess we're going to look at some of the items that are included in there. I don't know if there's any discussion or input from council, but I'm looking to have a final design open house near the end of July. Pre-construction open house in early September. Have some mail out notices as required for the project. We've already had this in April to update all the residents within the project limits on where the project is at. Some website, Facebook, email updates as required. Any newspaper ads that may be needed, updates on utility bills, newsletter that's included in that. One item that I've seen in other municipalities is when there is markets delegates or events to have a table at that event, if that's appropriate, with the district and consultants to be available to discuss that with residents or visitors. Just on either on an update, just to let them know where it's at during construction, or possibly this summer between final design and pre-construction. Then on-site construction trailers and signage to ensure that residents know where to go for questions.
Okay, thank you very
I
much.
included as an updated schedule, as we touched on the open houses that we're looking to do are at the end of July and early September. Looking to get to council at the end of July with a presentation with the final design. Then move forward into tender through the month of August. Part of that tender would be a construction schedule like I touched on, and a traffic management plan, emergency access management plan, which we plan to bring to council prior to tender to get input on that as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
Well, I'm just wanted to comment that, you know, the communication strategy you're putting forward is really critical. It's very important. I mean, the folks out there, it is their only way in and out, and you know, the progress and the processes you're going through. If you're, I know you're already ahead of the curve in terms of talking to folks out there with regard to encroachments and right-of-ways and so on and so forth. So, you know, the the idea of ongoing communication and ensuring that everybody's up to date on how you're doing and how you're going to handle traffic, et cetera, is going to be very important. So I appreciate that being in this at this stage, because it's pretty important, especially when there's no other routes for people. I think that's important. Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I think you know, social media will be very useful for this, especially for really urgent matters or things that come up quickly. That's the beauty of that kind of media, and it might even be worth considering setting up a separate Garnet Valley Project Facebook page just specifically for that project, because it can maybe get lost. Some key information might be able to get lost on the District of Summerland's Facebook page.
Mm-hmm. It's probably a good idea. I think we've got additional tools that weren't available to councils in the past, and I think anything we can do to take advantage of those and keep folks up to date and alleviate any concerns, and you know, traffic patterns and use of the road really concerns me. So I think we've got to make sure everybody's able to be aware of what's going on and that their wishes can be expressed. Anybody else? Councillor Traynor.
When you have the final design open house, is there any opportunity for the public to give feedback at that point, or is it more an informational session?
The main point of it would be an informational session, but the intent would be to have it prior to tender, so that if there was anything that came up either through the council presentation or the open house, that there still could be changes made to the tender documents before they go over.
Okay, so there is the opportunity for people to make a comment if they want to? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Peak.
I think the suggestion of going to the farmers market is an excellent one. I think it gives other members of the public, not just those that live in Garnet Valley, an opportunity to see what's going on. And people are always interested in things that are happening in the community.
Would someone like to bring the recommended motion forward, please? Councillor Peak, thank you.
That council passed the following resolution, that the report Jones Flat and Garnet Valley Water System Separation Project update submitted by the Director of Works and Utilities on June 27th, 2016 be received for information.
Seconder, please. Councillor Traynor, thank you. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Appreciate the update. Anything further?
Nope, I'm here for the
Next item.
Yeah, but
Oh, the next
He's
item.
not moving.
I was just waiting for you to sit down. Okay, 12.7. Mr. Johnson.
Sorry. This is to review some updated information that has been received since council's previous direction to construct an alternative trail route for the old Clean Trail, west of Taylor Place. Back in April 25th, council provided a resolution to look at an alternative route, which is attached in Schedule A. Prior to construction of this new trail, our environmental planner was asked to do an assessment of that. Coming from that, there was a number of concerns with regards to the it being an environmentally sensitive development permit area, that there were some sensitive ecosystems and species in the area. And that with the high existing density of trails that were already present in the area, that there was a recommendation to consider the option of constructing an alternative route through that area. So listed in the report are a couple options for council to consider. Option one would be continuing on that path with the alternative route construction, which would require an environmental assessment from a qualified environmental professional. Option two would be looking at obtaining and maintaining the existing flume trail as it is. Right now, it cuts through 13 private properties as previously reported, so it would require to get a geotechnical engineer out there to assess the current trail where there are concerns, and look at obtaining that either through a right-of-way or land purchase for the district, to then look at spending monies to maintain and upgrade that section of trail. With this would come obviously some potential high liability and costs that would cost to be determined through that assessment. Option three, which is listed here, is to install signage on the existing trail to advise users that they are entering private property. And with that option, we would look at getting input from MIABC as well as any legal counsel that would be required on what the wording should be. The proposed sign locations are listed in Schedule B, looking to have them at the trailhead to the north and then on either side of the private property section, and then at a location to the south where some of the other trails converge.
Sounds good. Questions then? Any questions from council? Councillor Holmes.
Is simply having signage, I guess, good enough for liability? I mean, does that make sense? I mean, if you have a trail coming off public land onto private land.
It's surprising how well signage works, and Mr. Denick can speak to this as well if I miss anything. But even in a municipality that has high-risk areas, and it's, say in City of North Vancouver where they have cliffs and areas that high users, as long as they have signage, and as long as they have signage indicating why you shouldn't be going there, or that it's at your own risk, then it does mitigate your risk. You're not, it does protect. This is a little bit different in that the liability is not really ours. We're informing them that it's not our property. But the liability, the concern right now is that the liability sits with the property owners if something did happen. So what we're doing is informing people that it isn't our property. And the property owners can determine if they want to do more or if they put signage up as well. And I think over time we may work with the property owners on further, we have to see how that goes with the signage. But as far as liability goes, yes, signage is surprisingly effective if you have the right words.
Councillor Peak.
Yeah, this is clearly not a trail that we identify as being part of our trail system, and we don't want to be promoting the public to go onto private property, so this is a step to recognize that.
And we certainly use signage in certain areas, for example, down to Crescent Beach on that access road. We've got signage there that I remember the discussion that happened at council regarding signage versus other ways of mitigating, and signage was really the only option that we had, so that was what we did. So would someone like to bring the recommendation forward as presented, please? Councillor Holmes?
As presented.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Carlson, thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. None opposed. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. 12.8, CAO.
As council's aware, the mayor will be meeting with Minister Fassbender on Monday, July the 11th in Vancouver. I will be attending that meeting as well. It makes it very difficult to have our regular committee of the whole meetings and regular scheduled meetings, and we're recommending that we reschedule that meeting. The proposed date here is the next day.
seems certainly fine with me. I think we discussed this a little bit in terms of, we could almost do it, you know, but if the plane was late, et cetera, it would make things pretty tight.
You're not
In
riding a
addition,
bike?
pardon me?
You're not biking there?
Well, I've lost that level of speed. I'd definitely have to ride right behind the CAO's tire if I hope to be able to make it there.
And I'm doing the Grand Fondo the day before that, so I'll be too tired.
That's just training. Okay, would someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that the regular council meeting scheduled for July 11th, 2016 be cancelled and rescheduled to Tuesday, July 12th, 2016 at
Thank you.
7 p.m.
Seconder. Councillor Carlson, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries and opposed. Into new business. We're 13.1 is not occurring, correct? Okay. Moving on to 14.1, bylaws. CAO?
So this bylaw that is on the agenda right now is the bylaw that we had a public hearing this morning, or earlier today. You have the option to give third reading to the bylaws, both bylaws today, if you desire. You won't be able to do adoption tonight because it does have to go from Ministry of Transportation for their approval after third reading. Should you decide not to approve it today or give third reading today, you need to remember not to discuss the matter any further.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Peak.
It makes extremely good sense to designate it as a park, and this is a great opportunity to make it a complete section. It's a wonderful area of our lake shore.
Yep. Well, it starts to finalize what other councils have started in acquiring properties, et cetera, so.
And recognize
this is
Could I read the
tidying things
motion?
up.
Unless there's
No,
more.
go ahead, please.
That bylaw number 2016-019, amendment of the official community plan bylaw 2014-002, Parks in Lower Town, be read a third time, and bylaw 2016-020, amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450, Parks in Lower Town, be read a third time.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. None opposed. 14.2.
This one, we also had a public hearing for these two tonight. This is Thornburr Street. It's the same situation. Third reading can be considered tonight. If you do pass third reading, it would go to Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure before it comes back for adoption. If you have questions on any other questions, you can direct them to the Development Services Director.
Anybody got any questions for our planner? Councillor Peak.
Not questions, but I'd like to recognize the fact that in previous discussions, I would have preferred to see this as a larger plan. The opportunity to look at other properties in that area is one that I think council should look at in the future. I think that comprehensive planning is the way that council should be doing this. I don't object to division of property, but I would have liked to see it as an overarching plan.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
And to add to what Councillor Peak just said, I believe that there's other areas also in Summerland that perhaps could be viewed with a similar comprehensive plan, and it would be worth a larger council conversation, perhaps about what neighborhoods we might want to encourage to infill and eventually redevelop.
Exactly.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Shall I move this motion?
Go
I will
ahead.
move that bylaw number 2016-021, amendment of official community plan, bylaw 2014-002, Thornburr Street, be read a third time. And, can I do both at the same time? That bylaw number 216-022, amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450, 2311 Thornburr Street, be read a third time.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holmes. Any further discussion? Further discussion, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. None opposed, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to councillor reports.
No, we got one more.
One more?
14.3.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
This one is
14.3.
just consideration for adoption. It was the amendment of Freedom of Information and Privacy Protection Act bylaw that we discussed, designating the deputy corporate officer as the FOIP coordinator.
Councillor Carlson.
I will move that bylaw 2016-024, amendment of Freedom of Information and Privacy Protection Act, bylaw 2000-441, be adopted.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. And of course, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to councillor reports. And this time it's going to be at random. Councillor Holmes.
Okay, so about an hour before this meeting started, I was at the AGM for the South Okanagan Immigrant and Community Services, at which I was elected to the board. So I'll be the only Summerland representative on the board. And if you look at the success Oliver has had, there's also an Oliver councillor on the board. If you look at the success Oliver has had both at having immigrant services in that community and attracting immigrants to that community, I like to see the same in Summerland. When we talk about attracting young families to Summerland, the biggest source of young families is the immigrant community. And it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing. If you don't have immigrant services in the community, you're not going to get the immigrants. But then if you don't have a sizable amount of immigrants in the community, you're not going to get the immigrant services, right? So so that's part of the method of my madness of the whole refugee thing. And if we get enough refugees here, they have to start providing immigrant services. So I'm happy to say that SOICS this summer will start providing English ELL classes in Summerland at the new library. So that's kind of the first step of providing the immigrant services in town here, rather than having to go to Penticton.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And there's still a lot of interest in the community of the refugees. I had the pleasure of meeting with the Kiwanis group last week, talking to them about the group. They wanted to hear about it. And last weekend I attended the Welcoming Communities Conference at Okanagan College. It was a really useful conference, talking about how communities can be more welcoming, not just to immigrants, but to all kinds of disadvantaged groups, more accessible. So it was quite a useful conference in that respect. So some ideas out of there.
Good. Councillor Barkwell.
I haven't attended events that didn't have other councillors at this time, other than the Heritage Advisory Commission, and they've got lots of things on the go. One of the things that they were asked about from council was the view tubes up on Giant's Head, which were put up there with the Centennial Park in '67. They all need replacing, and they strongly recommended that this be done. I think staff's going to look after it, so it's good. But they've got a lot of things. What's that?
I say they're pretty basic that are there now.
Well, they are what they are. But they're scratched up. They're old. There's additional sites that can be.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe additional information that could be put with them, what their people are looking at. Or maybe a QR code and they look at the on their phone.
One that points to your house.
Yeah, one that points to my house. This is Councilor Barkwell.
Of course. I like the idea of the QR codes. Great. Okay, Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like many others at council table, I attended the volunteer dinner, which was a wonderful opportunity to meet volunteers that I wouldn't normally bump into. It was a great celebration. I'd like to congratulate staff on how it was organized. The Cultural Task Force has meeting as well, and we're working forward on the draft of the report. We had a meeting with staff We went, as council, there were many councillor members who went to the Business After Business at the Rackets Club. It's the last one before summer, and that was a really nice event. It was well put on, and I'd like to thank the Rackets Club for hosting it, and all the wineries that came, and the grocery stores, both IGA and Nestor's, who contributed to a nice little buffet that we all were able to have. I'd like to recognize a 40 years anniversary for Parkdale Place, which was quite a celebration for them. Councillor Barkwell had represented the mayor more recently at the 25th anniversary at the Ornamental Gardens, and during the presentation from the president, there were remarks about the difficulty they were having in their fundraising, and subsequently I asked for a meeting with the president and myself and the vice president and representative from the community, Marilyn Hanson, and I had some discussion around their fundraising difficulties and some of the rules involved, and I will continue that discussion and keep council aware of it, and I'm sure that there'll be some opportunities for doing some work with that. We also, this weekend, the garden tour throughout Summerland was on, and the Divine Arts group participated as well. And Saturday was supposed to be a rainy day, but it turned out to be a great day to do the tour. And that's a fundraising opportunity for Quest, so it was a well-attended tour.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
You may have noticed there's an influx of people in town right now. I believe the longboarding competition is this week.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for it and go up that mountain because it's pretty fun to watch. I was at the farmer's market yesterday. I was selling some cherries and some kale and some things, and it went very well. I do think we need to continue to encourage people to come to the Sunday market and encourage businesses to be open. And I know that next week and the following week as summer begins, it will become busier and more fun. And I think that there's some really great music, and there's food trucks. So if you're looking for some food on a Sunday at lunchtime in Summerland, there's really some options, and they're really nice. I noticed yesterday on the lake, I was looking out, and there were dozens and dozens of boats out there. So I also know that there was a casualty on Okanagan Lake as well. So just be safe on the water. I think that's very important that we remember that, especially because school's out, and that means there's going to be lots more children around, and that school, I guess that's out on Wednesday or Thursday, and graduation is also this week. So congratulations to all of our 2016 grads. We were going to pack cherries on Wednesday, but it's going to be tough because half our crew is graduating. So, well done.
Councillor Traynor.
I attended the volunteer dinner and the Business After Business like several of the other councillors did. Yesterday I was mountain biking on Giant's Head, and it was really neat because they were setting up for the longboard competition, so I hope that goes well for them. I did notice at the top there's quite a few cigarette butts at the parking lot at the top, and also at the very top where the flag is, and there isn't a no smoking sign, so I just wanted to mention that.
Incredible.
So yeah, that was just something I wanted to mention. Also, Canada Day is on Friday, and there's a celebration in Memorial Park, and I think several of us will be there cutting a cake at 11 o'clock, and that's being hosted by the Legion. That's it.
Thank you. And I'll be there helping cut and distribute cake and getting my own piece of cake and getting to eat it as well. Let's see, what else have we got? I think that's it. Thank you very much. Public, and any questions from the public? Yes. Thank you. Christine.
Christine Heckle, Chamber of Commerce. Good evening to all of you. I would normally have brought this up in the first public comment opportunity, but unfortunately I only became aware of this during the course of the meeting, that an item of correspondence from the Chamber for sent on June 10th to Mayor and Council is not on the correspondence list, and because it is a time-sensitive issue and one that's highly important to the Chamber Board, I wanted to just bring that to your attention, and if I may, I'll read that letter to you. Dear Mayor Waterman and Councillors, in the past 2 years, and more recently through the Business Wealth Initiative, a lack of housing in Summerland has often been raised as a deterrent to resident attraction, as well as local business expansion. Our own board members, as business owners, have seen firsthand how housing shortages have impacted employee recruitment efforts. Unfortunately, Summerland has only anecdotal information. No formal study of the problem has ever been conducted. Communities throughout the south Okanagan are experiencing the same issues and need for data. The City of Penticton has recently issued an RFP for a consultant to conduct an in-depth study and determine specifically where the housing gaps in the community are and what the possible solutions could be. Because much of that information is pertinent also to Summerland, there is an opportunity to collaborate in that study and gain similar factual insight for our community on this critical issue. And so it says, on behalf of the board, I am writing, I didn't write this, Michael Hughes, our controller, is the I in this question, writing to you today to request that the district explore this opportunity to participate in this important housing study with Penticton. And as the RFP is already active, and that was, again, on the 10th of June, this matter is time sensitive, so I wanted to raise it here with you again. Mayor Waterman, thank you for supporting economic development in Summerland. That was the nature of the letter, and again, because it didn't appear on the list, I wanted to make sure you have that information.
Thank you. CAO?
Just to note, that letter was included in the reading file for council, and I thought that you and Mr. McIntosh and I were planning to meet to discuss it with the economic development plan, so with funds.
I didn't see it. It wasn't on the correspondence list here though, so I thought, oh no, we might have been, dropped off or disappeared somewhere, and I thought, hey, it was important enough to bring up at this point, so that would be terrific.
So perhaps we can talk tomorrow and see when we can meet, the three of us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for bringing it up, and thanks to the CO for clarifying. Any other members of the public? Yes, Mr. Marty Van Alphen.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to come and speak this evening. I brought props, but I didn't realize
I don't know whether those are eggs or what.
No, they're not eggs.
Oh, okay.
I'm here to talk about the agricultural water situation, the new rates that have been sent out to us, and I'm very concerned about this situation. The first letter I received was addressed to me by Jeremy, and I came in to see Jeremy, but thank God he wasn't here that day, and Lori intercepted me and talked me off the cliff, so to speak. And I do appreciate that. We've had a half-hour conversation, and then the other day I had Mr. Brent Voss come and visit me at the farm. I said we brought him out of retirement to give us a hand in this situation, and we had a half-hour discussion on the farm, and it was very productive. The next day I had two staff members from municipal yards come. We went over my numbers, and they and I can't make sense of that. My numbers were, I was 61% over. No, sorry, yes. 61% over, which put me into the 414 cubic meter bracket. My water bill would have been $18,232.89 for agricultural water. So I'm very concerned. I brought some props. I don't need to get into that. I've ordered some new nozzles, some plugs, some new nozzles for my big gun for the hayfield. When I say big gun, it's about that big. Yeah. It's not that big. I had Ryan McDonald from Municipal Yards come out. We changed the meter head to determine that there are no leaks in the system, and they're not. This is a new digital meter head, and I can run one sprinkler and it'll tell me how many gallons per minute. And I think it's something that's going to be vital in the future for all the farmers. At the water meetings, I indicated that one of my biggest concerns was we never had access to the blue boxes. There is not a farmer in Summerland that can tell you how many cubic meters it will take to cycle across your farm. No way, you can't. We've never had access to those blue boxes. You could never find out if you had a leak unless it's visible. I've got 2-inch water mains 3 feet deep. So the other concern I have, I'm allowed 800 millimeters per year. It could be mid-August, and I could have 1 3/4 inch line break at 11 o'clock at night and not discover it till 6 in the morning. I'm done for the year. I thought my rate, my 18,000 was astronomical. I spoke to a neighbor who is in the 91%, and he's over $200,000 for his water. I spoke to another neighbor who sent me who says he got the same paper and he's at 0. 3 years in a row. You know, so I really appreciate where we're going, trust me, because I'm a very concerned farmer. I believe that the data we have to date isn't as good as it could be. I'm very happy that Brent Voss is working on this. Brent was by again today, so I have used up approximately 5 to 6 hours of his staff time thus far.
That's fine.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no,
Thank you
I
very
think,
much.
Mr. Van Alphen, I think in recognition of potential difficulties is why the CAO moved to bring on Mr. Voss to help deal with things, and the CAO may want to address
Just,
comment.
just to exactly what's being spoken, we anticipated that there was going to be some, I mean, in some of them it's going smoothly, but in a number of them it's not. And it was felt that we were not going to be able to move forward until we tackle it. And hopefully your encounters with the staff have been very much that we're working to figure it out. And we've got that consistent message about all of them and with everyone, and we'll continue working very closely. And we do recognize that we have to make an investment in staff time in order to sort those out.
But also, you know, like at the agricultural water meetings that we held up here, you know, I brought some concerns forward. Have we exhausted our agricultural water for the whole community as a farming community? No. Is there more arable acres available to purchase? I never got an answer. Mr. Voss right now is GPSing my property to see if, you know, I've got about 3 acres behind west of my barn that I don't even water anymore because I'm afraid to, and it's right up against the interface area. You know, so I'm concerned.
Well, I think, you know, what I appreciate with the way staff's been handling things is that, you know, and I was talking to the CFO, I guess, about a week or so ago, and understood that Mr. Voss was coming on to, you know, talk to individuals. I believe there's probably about 70 properties that require some consultation, and so, and I appreciate. Actually, I'm very pleased with what you said, because Mr. Voss and other staff being that involved in trying to get to the root of the problem. There's no intention at all by the municipality of trying to force people to come up with this kind of billing situation. We'll be dealing with it and making sure that we end up with an equitable resolution for sure. That's why, you know, we're trying to make strides with respect to our rates and our water use and so on and so forth. And we've given staff direction that communication is paramount, and that we can have good interchange and good conversations with staff and users. So the evidence that you brought tonight makes me extremely happy. I'm unhappy that you've got a problem, but at the same time I'm very happy that we're dealing with it in a very equitable manner.
Just to mention, we've mentioned Mr. Voss's name tonight, so just for clarity, he's here on a temporary contract. However, the intent is that we will be advertising for another contractor. He's to take this on for an extended period of time. So he'll be here until we have somebody else in place that can take that on.
Councillor Barkle.
Mr. Van Alpen brings up a point that has been kind of on my mind too, and that's if you have a break and it's at bedtime and you don't find out until the next morning, and it could be a lot of water. We have that policy for that situation with domestic services, and if there's a break, and there's a forgiveness policy there. I'm not sure how it applies to the irrigation, but it's something that we definitely will have to consider at some point in the future, and should probably anticipate that and have something ready. So that's fair for these things.
Yeah, don't know the wording offhand if it covers the whole bylaw, but we can certainly look into that.
Yeah.
Mr. Barkle Councillor Barkle, thank you. He makes a very good point. Like, it could be mid-August, I could be sitting at 600 millimeters used for the year, looking very good for the rest of the irrigation year. I have one break and I'm done. I'm out of water for the year.
I have very personal experience with a similar sort of break. When we were starting our orchard up, I woke up in the middle of the night, could hear water running, and I went out of the trailer that we had sitting there while we were building our house, and it was only a matter of meters before I was into ankle-deep water. It was running through the whole orchard from my neighbor's, one of his standpipes had let loose, and the pipes were loose. So it was actually pretty critical because it was right above a cliff face, which would have affected Mr. Toogood's orchard pretty negatively. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with that, and I'm sure we'll look at that.
Just wanted to bring things to people's attention, and the other thing too is, and I mentioned it to Martin up at Public Works, I talked to him on the telephone, and I thought it's something that might be very helpful, is that, you know, we have Mr. Voss involved now, we have municipal staff people. I think it would be advantageous to have some farm type tours. You know, put the digital meter in, run some systems, and say, this is where you might be able to improve. Like my neighbor that's $200,000, I think he's gonna learn very quickly, he can't run 3 sprinklers at one time. You know, like, I think there's some do I believe there's a whole bunch of blatant theft going on? I don't think so. I think it's education is a big issue with the water system.
I think a lot of these things will be cleared up, and I appreciate the comments, because the intention here is to, you know, have your comments go to staff and appreciate them, actually.
And certainly the water committee has talked about education and looking at opportunities for education, and we'll be further exploring that as well.
And one other thing I mentioned at the water meeting is, and I'm a firm believer, if, as per BC assessment, if I'm a bona fide farmer, I should be paying farm water rates. If I'm not a bona fide farmer and I don't have BC, as per BC assessment, why am I gonna get a farm rate? Should I not be paying residential? There's another question, but that's something for further. And one other quick thing, these standpipes along the roads that the farmers are using to fill their sprayers. I stopped a gentleman the other day on the corner of Victoria and Joe's Flat Road filling up a 1-gallon water bottle.
Are you kidding?
And I stopped and I talked to him. He didn't speak English as well as I do anyways. And like the sign says, do not drink the water. I think we need to look at putting that in another language also possibly.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Can we see the props?
He's got irrigation.
Can we see the props?
Yes, just quickly, if I may.
nozzles.
This sprinkler alone with the digital meter is 8.1 gallons per minute. So my intent is, I've ordered plugs from the rental center and I'm downsizing that by 50%. My big irrigation gun, or larger irrigation gun, uses this nozzle, as you can see, after 1 year the wear. And I'm recommending that I'm going to this size nozzle to try to reduce everything by 50%. I'm hoping by reducing everything by 50%, I don't have to water 50% more. You know, but it's an experiment that I gotta
That's
try.
great, Marty. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Don't stop watering.
Water the grass.
Okay. Are there any questions from, thank you, Marty. Any questions from the media? Yes, Susan.
When will the task force on economic development be presenting its recommendations to council?
It'll be a while yet. We've got a recommendation moving forward on a funding request to help us with that task force. I know we talked about June being some recommendations coming forward. They won't be coming forward in June. It'll be at a later date.
And you don't have an idea when that might be, because in January you said you
I know,
wanted to do it,
I
but you
realize.
didn't answer, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
We have a meeting scheduled this week, and we'll be talking with the task force to determine the next steps and how quickly it'll be coming, or if it'll be formally delayed.
What sort of difficulties have you been encountering to cause a delay? Or is it a bigger job than you thought, or?
I think it's more of an opportunity. When the Rural Dividend Fund was announced and the opportunity came up, there was an opportunity to put an application in for economic development coordinator position, and it was seen that the committee could play a very integral role in overseeing the 4 areas that we put forward with that. So we're working to find out when that results from the Rural Dividend Fund grant will be announced, and if it's going to be timely, because a number of the things that we were discussing in that committee are things that we're looking to do further exploration with that grant if we are successful. So if the grant is successful, then we'll come to council and say, let's extend it and do this project so that we get a more fulsome report coming forward. If we're not successful, then we would bring back the version that we're working on at this point. So, and we'll be talking about that at the meeting.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly happy with the discussions we've had so far, but this is an opportunity that will allow us to perhaps do more in depth. And I'm certainly not, I'm not inflexible. I think the idea is if we have opportunities, we can be flexible with our approach to how we want to solve things. But as an example of something that's already happened, and that's the ratio of business tax to residential property tax, that was one of the things discussed, and it was brought forward so it was in time for this budget. So that was brought in right away, and it brought us down from, what was it, CFO 3.7 down to just under 2.6?
We moved to 2.5.
2.5?
Yes.
And what was the previous ratio? I think it was 3.7.
I have to look that up, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Mr.
okay.
Mayor.
Anyway, it was greatly reduced, so we were just below the provincial average, and that was a topic that came up at our discussions, and it was felt that it was something we should move forward on and take advantage of that thinking for this budget. So,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Councillor Peak. Motion for adjournment?
Yes, if I know, I just would like to make a comment. I took a review of the correspondence, and I'd like to thank the executive director from the chamber, because I don't see the letter there regarding,
No.
and I know that that our councillor Tony Boot as liaison spoke about it at the last meetings. I'm glad it just came.
Yeah, I think it was in the reading file.
A motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Carlson, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your attendance, and thank you to the public and the media. Thank you, Marty.